Wednesday. Thanks, Riley. 11 o'clock on Wednesday. As you guys know, we got the appellate court ruling yesterday on case number 1 that said, as for now, the equal protection argument would likely carry the day and the restraining order stays in place. We're hopeful to get an order from case number 2 here shortly from the judge, and we'll go from there on that one. He's almost assuredly going to follow the appellate court's opinion. Case 3 we're working on. If you guys are interested in that one, Ryan will post the link over there. You can work on that. Before I start talking about the guns, let's jump to the governor for a second. He said yesterday that effective May 11th, 2023, the emergency is over. No more emergency disaster proclamations. And it just happens to be the exact same day that President Biden has said that the federal emergency is no longer going to be in place. And what you guys need to understand is it has to do with money. It's always been about money since almost day one. Not quite. I mean, for a little bit of time there, you know, I would say early on, we might have had to deal with some emergency stuff, but it became about money years ago. And so once the federal disaster declaration is lifted by President Biden, it shuts off the financial resources to the states that also have a disaster. So Pritzker's been using that billions and billions, heck, it's probably pushing 200 billion by now, to prop up the state budget and how great it is, and you know how he's a great conservative, fiscally conservative and responsible governor. It's all nonsense. But anyway, the disaster proclamations will end on May 11th because that's when the federal money's gone. So, you know, hope you guys learned something from that lesson. It's a big lesson, but it's always about money. Anything that's going on, money's driving it. As to now the gun case, the media, even Fox News, I mean, I don't watch the news hardly at all. You know, I don't watch Fox or CNN or any of that stuff. But Fox News, even along with several other media outlets, are saying that this is a statewide injunction. It's not a statewide injunction. You guys, I've been preaching to you for 3 years. Quit reading the damn news and going around telling everybody that something's true because you read it in the news. It's like, quit doing it. You're still doing it after all these years. So it's not a statewide injunction. Let me say it again. It's not a statewide injunction, okay? It is only still applicable to the people in case 1 or any other injunction that might get entered by in case 2, etc. In one of these other lawsuits that's been filed by other lawyers, if there's an injunction entered, it'll apply to them. There is no statewide injunction at all right now. Could one get entered maybe by the federal court at some point in time? Potentially. And if they do, I'll tell you. But there isn't one right now. Fox News doesn't know what they're talking about. Fox 32 doesn't know who they're talking about. Any of these other news outlets are saying that they don't know what they're talking about, which is typical. So there is no statewide injunction. All right. If you are not right now today in case number 1, the law still applies to you technically. We get an order when we get an order in case 2, then if you're in that case, law doesn't apply to you either. If any of these other cases, one of those lawyers gets an order, then it won't apply to you either. But until then, there's no statewide injunction. Do I have to keep saying it a million times? You have to go tell your friends if you're listening to this, because I'm tired of getting messages from people with this wrong information. Not from those people. Their people are just reading stuff. I'm just tired of it going or spreading around because the media has turned it into a big cluster, you know what, and it's ridiculous. It's irresponsible, which is typical of most of these reporters. Okay. And you say you can't trust them, Davey. I understand what you're saying. You can't trust them. Most of them just aren't very smart. They don't understand this stuff. They're not, it's beyond whatever they do for a living or whatever you, Davey, do for a living. I'm an idiot. I don't even know anything about it. I don't pretend to know anything about it. But when you get these reporters going out here making these comments, they don't even know what they're talking about. It's dangerous because it confuses people. Yeah, like Candace, but it is a statewide injunction with the big smiley face. Fox News told you it was, Candace, so I guess it's probably true because whoever the Fox News reporter was, I guess he knows what the hell he's talking about. Let me see here. So that's really all I have. Again, if you're interested in the third and last one, because I'm not going to feel guilty anymore with people saying, Tom, I didn't know. If you don't know now, I love you, but you ain't never going to know. The wording of the law is not misleading, Mark. Again, this is not the wording in the law. It's just understanding, precedent. Danielle, my good dear friend Danielle. The media is purposely putting it out there, the fake crap, she says, to get lawful people arrested. I'd like to assume that's not true, but to me, I don't know. Stephanie, yep, you're right. You're on lawsuit number 1. But yeah, it's, I don't know why the media does that, And interestingly enough, you guys, Governor Pritzker or Kwame Raoul aren't saying anything, right? Typically, I would have expected Mr. Raoul, as our Attorney General, to be on, putting a press release out, that appellate court ruling is not a statewide injunction and it only still covers the 866 people, because he would be right. But he's not saying a word. It's weird. I haven't figured that out yet. Christina says people aren't supposed to have to comply with unconstitutional laws. Okay, if you think it's unconstitutional, Christina, don't comply with it. Go out there and be purposely disobedient. And then if you get arrested, you're going to have to defend yourself in a courtroom saying that you don't have to comply with unconstitutional laws. I admire that principle, but you got to go out there and step out on the stage and do it, ma'am. If you want to do that, I'd be admirable, but you can't just arbitrarily say I'm not following an unconstitutional law, because you could get arrested. Then you're going to have to go defend yourself in a courtroom. No, it's not a good, Danielle, it's not a good argument in favor of a governor recall. In Illinois, there's no such thing as a governor recall, practically speaking. There's a technical one in the Constitution, but you've got to have a bipartisan vote of the legislature in order to even start the petition. And you're going to get any Democrats to sign a petition to recall Governor Pritzker? Of course not. So recall, people should quit wasting their energy in Illinois talking about recall of any governor, Republican or Democrat. That constitutional provision is pretty much meaningless. Matthew, when do you plan to file case 3? Working on that, Friday or Monday. I'm still trying to, we're working that through, those details, brother, but Friday or Monday. Christina says, that's exactly what I was thinking. I'd be willing to stand up and get arrested for my sovereign fellow man and woman. It's noble. If I guess if you go purchase one of these weapons from somebody, potentially subjecting yourself to arrest, it's okay. Joe, no, we're waiting for the order on case 2, Joe, and we're asking, so we're hoping to have it anytime soon. So there's no reason the judge shouldn't do that. Yeah, the police are exempt from the ban, Carrie. That's one of the arguments that we won, actually. They shouldn't be exempt. Brian Hayes, how many lawsuits have you won against Pritzker since he took office? Just curious. When you define the term won in a courtroom, it's complicated, but I can tell you, when it comes to injunctions against Pritzker or Pritzker's executive orders, we probably won 10, 15 injunctions against what he was doing, and maybe lost 2 or 3. But you guys only heard about the 2 or 3 handful that weren't successful, because those are the ones the media report on. But we won, again, 4 times more injunctions against his policies than we ever lost. But again, who asked that question? That was a good question. That was Brian. Yeah, you like to hear Brian, people say, oh, they never win those. It's because you never heard about them. We won like 10 in a row injunctions against his mask mandates, and you didn't hear about that probably, Brian. me see here. Again, I don't have much else for you guys. I'm going to say it again. There is no statewide injunction. You guys, you with me? Anybody that tells you that there is, they don't know what they're talking about. Tell them Tom said they're wrong. There's not one. Trust me, the first day that we get a statewide injunction, like through a federal case or something, you guys will be the first to know, because I'll tell you. Retired cops, you're also exempt. Yeah, that's another one of the arguments we won. Why is retired cops' constitutional rights more important than yours? Let me see here. No, I don't have an opinion on the ATF brace stuff, Guy, because I've not analyzed it yet. That's, you know, till I actually analyze something and understand it and can have an intelligent comment, I don't say anything. There's too many people, you know, want to talk about those things that really haven't taken the time to fully appreciate it. So I understand that's going on, Guy, but I've not broken it down enough to have an intelligent response to you, brother. Retired military, Tim, is not exempt. Retired law enforcement, like a retired cop, state cop, city cop, county deputy, they're exempt from this law forever. But if you're a retired military, you're not exempt. But it has to do, it's because of the training, Tim. It's the training. Since the cops, current and retired, have that extensive training, they can maintain and continue to buy these weapons. But retired military is not trained enough, according to Pritzker and his people. You figure that one, riddle that one out, Tim. Joe says, Joe, you answered your question is yes. Tim, you're right. Prison guards are too, right? And we've talked about that. If a prison guard or a cop, that 40-hour basic training course that they take, you know, they have to take a 40-hour training course that has some hands-on firearms training with a shotgun and a pistol, not with assault weapons, as they like to call them. But that training makes them able in their personal lives, not just their professional lives, but in their personal lives to buy any of these things they want. It's irrational. But to the extent they want to pass a law that says that, then I'll go take the same 40-hour training course. And I'll go buy me 500 AR-15s because I took a 40-hour training course just like a cop. It's some of, I mean, it's what you get when you get a bunch of fools trying to pass legislation for political reasons. Mark Jacob, will you take the violation of the 3 readings clause to the Illinois Supreme Court as suggested by the appellate court? You're damn right I will. 100% guaranteed, my friend. As long as my clients say go, we're going to go because they need to address that issue. So, Mark, hell yes. Carla, because the government controls their pensions, in my opinion. You think those 7 exempt categories? Who said that? Carla said that. You think the 7 exempt categories of people, for the most part, had their connections to their very influential public unions is why they might have got exempt out and not their extensive training? Think that might have had a little something to do with it, Carla? All right, I think that ought to about do it. Okay, guys, so go tell your friends there is no statewide injunction, okay? There isn't one. No statewide injunction. Not yet. I'll let you know, okay? Hold on, I'll ask this last question. Person-to-person gun sales. Again, you can't transfer if you're not covered under the exemptions or an injunction from the court. you can't transfer a weapon at all to anybody. So you can't buy one, you can't transfer one. So I think that pretty much speaks for itself. All right, guys, I got to go do some work. If you have any questions, you know what to do. Ask Ryan, send him an email. Thank